Now I have to think about all of the books I didn't read hard copies of. So, the first one I want to talk about, I've forgotten his name. Is he Alice Peter or is he Peter Alice? You'll find out here. I'll talk about the non-fiction books first. I already wrote a review on Virtue Hoarders, The Case Against the Professional Managerial Class by Catherine Liu. Basically, I've become interested in the detrimental nature of identity politics for universal solidarity based on class. Even though I don't agree with a lot of the things that Liu says, I think there is some merit to intersectionality theory. I really don't agree with what she has to say on combating sexual violence on campus, although I do understand that she's trying to place it into this bigger framework where liberal politics or liberal policies will focus on one thing that will actually not structurally change anything. And I know that Liu is also interested in the performance of trauma. There's an upcoming book in September that I'm really looking forward to reading as well. With all that in mind, I think it's a really interesting read if you're trying to figure out not only how injustices persevere, but also your role within perhaps the injustices that you're trying to combat. Yeah, so I really recommend that you read Virtue Hoarders, especially if you're interested in the role you have to play within structures that are perhaps unjust and how you perhaps yourself are part of the professional managerial class. It definitely got me into thinking about it. And I think it might get you into thinking about it as well. Similarly, but differently, because it doesn't talk about this aforementioned class and relies to an extent on identity politics, is The Invisible Doctrine. It's more founded in ecology and anti-capitalism in a way. The Invisible Doctrine, The Secret History of Neoliberalism, or How It Came to Control Your Life, is a book by George Monbiot and Peter Hutchinson, who are both prolific journalists who've done a lot of work on these topics, particularly on environmental studies and how we are fucking up the planet. If you're interested in this sort of thing, it would be prudent to give this a try, I think. I don't know why I'm talking this way, as if I were a Jane Austen villain. Then, Die Götter müssen sterben, The Gods Must Die by Nora Bensko is a fantasy retelling of the Amazons. It's very queer, it's very well written, and there's a lot of research that went into it. I quite recommend it. It's dark fantasy though, so it deals with a lot of dark topics as well. So the appropriate content notes apply. And then we have Schildmeid by Judith and Christian Vogt. It's a retelling of Nordic mythology in a way, but with a more realistic twist. So a lot of the time people will say, or people think, that Viking society in particular was quite egalitarian and that women had a lot to say, etc. But given the sources that we have, that's not necessarily the case. It's a feminist story of these women who come together around a woman who's building this ship in a forest, even though women are not supposed to set sail, and about all of the characters who then join her. So victims of domestic abuse whose spouses are berserkers, for example, or trans women or women of color who join. The woman building the ship is actually an indigenous woman. It's very interesting, I think, and a beautiful story altogether. It's called Schildmeid, Das Lied der Skalden, which doesn't do the book justice, I feel like. It's a fine title, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really take everything into account. Then, Die Nacht der Königinnen, Queen's Night, by Christian Handel, is, I don't know how I would describe it quickly, but perhaps feminist retelling of Bluebeard the fairy tale in a way. It's about this prince or king who invites all of these princesses or daughters from the realm to his castle under the guise that he wants to choose a queen. But it turns out that that's not what he wants to do, and that his plan is one of revenge. And then a morbid taste for bones. I really love this. This is like if Columbo, and I love Columbo, if Columbo was set in medieval times and Columbo was a monk. Yeah, that's basically it. I just finished reading the first book in the series. It was written in the 70s, so it might be why it has that Columbo vibe. The events take place in this monastery that's on the border between England and Wales. So the first book, for example, takes place in Wales, and it discusses Welsh traditions and society as opposed to English traditions in particular during that period of time. And the premise is basically that the monastery is next to this nunnery, and the nunnery has recently acquired a new saint, and the monastery also wants a saint now. And so they try and find a saint that fits their purposes and have this elaborate, performance where one of the monks is like, I had this dream of this, Welsh saint who sacrificed herself, and we're going to have to go there and ask for her bones, basically, to relocate them to a monastery. And that's how the story gets started. As you might imagine, the people from that Welsh village are not impressed by these English monks' requests. And Brother Cadfael, who's the principal character and our Columbo character, is in fact a Welshman who can also speak English, and his backstory is that he was part of the Crusades and then retired to become a monk. So also some problematic stuff going on there. I don't think that the series is going to touch on that, but yeah. And then finally, because the anime is out now, I finally read Witch Hat Atelier, or Atelier of Witch Hat, which is the manga series by Kamome Shirahama. Kamome Shirahama. I should look into the character while saying her name. I believe it's a female mangaka. It's lovely. It's very cute. It has Ghibli vibes, and also it's about witches. So it also has Little Witch Academia vibes, and it's cute girls doing stuff and beautiful animation. And in the manga is also beautifully illustrated, that the anime is now based on. It's been one of the most popular manga for ages now, and for a reason. So that concludes this review session. I'll probably split up the YouTube video into 2 parts, and then on Instagram you'll have a couple of small videos, mostly with me not looking into the camera. Perhaps we'll just put the book over my face in that instance. I don't know yet how that's going to work. Anyway, it was lovely talking to you. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Okay.